Hello everyone! So today's makeup tutorial is actually inspired by Valentine's Day, and it's actually my entry for a makeup contest hosted by the amazing Jordan Hans and Alex Faction. If you do not know who they are, what the hell are you doing on this planet? If you do not know who they are, I will have their channels linked down below so that you can go check them out. Their work is phenomenal. They are thebomb.com, so please go subscribe to them. Also, forgive the mess I call my room. I was not expecting to make this intro today, so I didn't really feel like cleaning. So on to this look. I actually shot this makeup tutorial last night, so this is actually the very next day. Now I actually did shoot an intro yesterday, but unfortunately it did not go through the files for some reason, so I'm actually redoing it today. No, I don't have any makeup on. I actually just got off the shower, which is why my hair is wet and a mess, so that's why I have it underneath my beanie. And hope you can tell I'm actually American Story AF here. I originally did not start with a concept at first. I was actually going through things that I've designed, things that I've drawn, and I could not find anything until I remembered that last year around this time actually I had planned to do sort of like a body painted sort of like a letters with roses and make it sort of emotional in a way, but this time last year I wasn't this good, and I'm still learning a lot. So there's still a lot that I want to learn, there's still a lot that I want to achieve in makeup. So last year I actually wasn't where I am today in makeup. Plus, I did not have all these products. So therefore I couldn't do it. And over the year I actually forgot about this idea and just like, it just left my mind. I was actually gonna do this look a couple of days ago and actually do it as a horror type film. So I actually planned something very different than what I did. I was gonna do gashes, blood, gore, all that stuff, but I just felt really frustrated in the process, so I just decided to rip it all off, take a shower, go to bed, sleep it off. I was just not having it whatsoever. Here I am trying to think of a concept. I was really struggling to find something that I could use for this makeup contest because I really wanted to do good. And then I remembered what I thought of last year to create something with letters, something with roses, something emotional. So I decided to just think about it during the day, sleep it off, and then create something. Yesterday, well, when you guys are watching this, it's probably gonna be a few days ago, but I was actually doing an English assignment where you were supposed to write a poem and do sort of like a toast thing, basically, where you were supposed to like analyze it, analyze the title, say what kind of poetry or what kind of like things you use to make your poetry a lot stronger, you know, what kind of literary devices you used, and a whole bunch of stuff. I was actually contemplating this during the night, and then I thought, why not write a poem based on this look? So the poem that I decided to write, I called it Letters to My Love. And I will have the poem actually written down in the description bar below. If you want, you guys can read it and then come back to the makeup so that you can understand a little bit more what the makeup look is about. But I really don't want to get like deep into the actual meaning. One, because this video is gonna be very long, and two, it's something that I feel like it would be better in another video. I will write down a few more things in the description bar about this makeup look, but I won't keep you guys hanging. So if you want to see how I did this look, then just keep on watching. So the very first thing I'm doing is I'm taking my NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat foundation in soft beige, and I'm just going to dot that all over my face using my finger, and then with a beauty blender sponge I'm just going to blend that all over my face. And once I'm done with that, I'm taking my NYX Jumbo pencil in milk, and I'm going to sketch out a heart shape around the perimeter of my face. And I'm going to be filling that in with white later, but for now we're just going to focus on the actual human face. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a light brown eyeshadow and I'm going to start contouring my face using that. And what I'm doing is to create the illusion that I am permanently sad, I'm just going to create sort of like a triangle shape in the inner corner of the eye and flick that upwards. So that's going to give me the illusion that I basically have a really sad expression. And as well as contour my face, contour my cheekbones, making them look a little bit hollow. And of course what I do on one side, I do on the other side. Now I'm taking Mayor on Paradise paint in white and I'm going to start highlighting my face. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a brush and laying down the color first, and then with a beauty blender sponge I'm just buffing the color outwards because I don't want it to be a stark white color. I just mainly wanted this character to look mostly like a ghost or like an angel. So I'm putting this on the highlight areas of my face, such as the forehead, nose, cheekbones, and the top of the chin. And then with the exact same white foundation, or well, water-based paint, I'm just covering the outer perimeter of the heart. And now I'm taking my NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk and I'm just rough sketching out where all the features of this makeup are going to be, like the feather and the roses, and then just continue filling everything in with white. Now I'm using Mehron Paradise paint in yellow, and I'm going to stipple that all over the white using a fluffy powder brush, and I'm going to stipple white on top of the yellow to mix it and create a really light yellow kind of color. And at the same time, this is going to create some texture and give the illusion that the letters are old. So if you store paper for a really long time, it's gonna turn yellow and it's gonna turn old. So I'm just trying to create sort of like an old age paper kind of effect. I'm also gonna run the white and the yellow along my hair. So now I'm just taking the white Paradise paint and I'm going to basically draw where each of the papers like separate and lie on top of each other. So I'm just basically separating each of the little letters using the Paradise paint and a little flat brush. And then what I'm gonna do is I wanted to have a little bit of fun, so I wanted to make the illusion that some of the pieces of paper were torn. So I'm just creating little scratches and little tears here and there, and then I'm taking a brown eyeshadow and I'm basically doing the shadow that will be casted by the paper on my skin. In order to intensify the shadows a little bit more, I'm just using a black eyeshadow, and this is actually NYX Primal Color in Hot Black, which is like a very, very pigmented shadow. So make sure to use this softly and then blend the color outwards. And I'm just basically creating more of a shadow where the paper is on top of my skin, and that's really gonna make that paper stand out a little bit more. I'm also doing the exact same thing in order to separate each of the pieces of paper that will be lying on top of each other. I would really recommend that you use a light brown eyeshadow instead of being fully committed to black, because black is one of those colors that is very hard to erase. So make sure that you use a light brown eyeshadow or even a gray to mark out the spacing of where you want to separate each of the little individual pieces of paper. And then if you need to, just shade around with black. And now I'm just creating some wrinkles and crinkles here and there with the brown eyeshadow, because this is obviously very old paper, so I wanted it to look wrinkly and torn in some edges. And now I'm just taking a little bit of black eyeshadow and I'm just intensifying all those shadows. And I'm also having a little bit of fun and creating more tears and indentations where the paper is, because obviously these letters are very old, so I wanted them to look torn and mangled in some edges. And oh my god, okay, so in this part I start painting in the feather, and I wish that I could have shown you better what I was doing, but yeah, I'm just filling in the feather using Paradise paint in white. I'm just creating a furry type of feathery texture using the brush that I was using, which is like an artist craft brush. And then I'm just taking a dark gray eyeshadow and I'm going to shade around one side of the feather, and I'm gonna bring that shadow pretty far along the edge, a little bit outwards, because I wanted this area to be as intensely shaded as possible. I was looking at a reference picture of a feather, so I just basically just followed that reference, and in that side it was pretty intensely shaded, so I just did that. And then I just took Paradise paint in white on a little fine artist brush and created the little brush strokes, which would be the feathery texture. Now I'm repeating the exact same step on the other side, only that the shadow is not going to be as intense, because this part is going to be basically the upper part of the feather, so it's going to be the area that's going to receive the most light. And I'm doing the exact same thing, creating the brush strokes using the white, and that's really going to add those furry, feathery type of textures. Now I'm just taking Mehron Paradise paint in white and I'm highlighting what would be the stem of the feather, if that's what you even call it. And then I just continue to create the exact same texture I used for the rest of my face, but only on my body this time. Next, I took that brown eyeshadow and I started creating the shadow that will be casted by the feather on the pieces of paper. And I'm using a fluffy brush for this because it blends better into the skin, and I'm switching from browns to blacks to intensify that shadow a little bit more. And as you can see, I later on switched to a smaller brush to really get into those fine detail areas, and that's really gonna make this feather pop and look like it's actually on top of paper. And then I just took the Paradise paint in white on that small artist brush again, and I created more flicks to really make this feather look really textured and stand out a little bit more. And that's the moment you find out you're a musical theater AF. Now I'm just elongating and highlighting that stem a little bit more and then shading to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay, so apparently I taught you guys how to do this rose, but apparently the footage was blurry as F. So I'm gonna teach you guys how to make another rose, and maybe in my neck, I don't know, we'll see. So I'm gonna make a smaller one in here, and what I'm gonna do is basically I'm just going to outline the rose. I'm using a red eyeliner pencil for that. So next what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start filling in the petals, and what I'm gonna do is, so that I wouldn't confuse myself, I'm just going to fill in one petal at a time and shade each petal, so that way the black shadow would be sort of like a barrier or a line separating each of the petals, so that way I wouldn't really like confuse myself. Just gonna fill that petal. I'm gonna start shading each of the petals, and basically I'm just adding the shadow that would be casted by the petal that's above it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna take the white face paint and I'm going to apply it towards the edge of each of the petals. And I'm going to apply it pretty opaque, and then I'm just going to take the same brush that I used to fill in every single one of the petals and just blend and drag the color throughout the petal to add a highlight. And I'm just gonna do that to every single one of the petals until they're all highlighted. And I'm just going to take a little small detail brush and do a really opaque highlight on some of the petals so that they would stand out a little bit more. I'm just going to take a black eyeshadow and I'm going to basically draw the shadow that will be casted by the rose on the piece of paper. Whoop, too opaque. Okay, so now I'm actually gonna draw some leaves. For that I'm taking Melvin'sMakeupMadness Paradise paint in green, and I'm going to start filling in all the leaves, or we'll draw them because they're not even drawn yet. Again, I'm looking at a reference picture of a rose, and I'm just going to start drawing this leaf. Okay, so now I'm just going to take white face paint, and I'm using Melvin'sMakeupMadness Paradise paint, and I'm going to add the little highlights to each of these leaves. Then I'm just gonna shade on the bottom of each of these little leaves. Invincible. Now I'm taking Mayron Paradise paint in white and a thin detail brush, and I'm drawing a highlight on each of the edges of the letters, and that's really going to make these stand out a lot more. All the little details and highlights are what's really going to make a look like this stand out. So now we're gonna have some fun because we're gonna be scribbling letters all over our body. Now, literally, I first started off by writing actual words in reverse, but it became really hard for me because that's like really hard to do, especially if you're body painting on yourself. So I would really recommend that you do this look on another person if you really want these words to, you know, be actual words and not scribbles like I did. But all I did was just take Mayron Paradise paint in black on a fine detail artist brush and just started scribbling a whole bunch of made up words that are not even understandable. They're just a whole bunch of like squiggly lines all over my body. And I just did that on every single piece of paper because I wanted it to have a message. And oh my god, okay, this part is cute. In this part, I actually did write love backwards, and it actually turned out okay, and I was so proud. Oh my god. Pat in the back, Melvin. Pat in the back. And then I just continued scribbling gibberish all over my body. Okay, so now I'm taking my NYX Jumbo pencil and applying this to both my waterlines, and I'm taking Mayron Paradise paint in light blue, and I'm going to start creating my tears. Now, what you want to do is that you want to create a teardrop shape at the end of your cheek and then drag the color up and connect it to your waterline. And then I'm taking a little bit of a brown eyeshadow, like a light brown eyeshadow, and adding a shadow to each of the ends of the little droplets to make them more three-dimensional. And I'm using a little bit of black on a fine detail brush to intensify that shadow a little bit more. And then I'm taking Paradise paint in white and adding a highlight on each of the ends of the little tears, because obviously these are water, so any type of light is going to reflect on them. Lastly, I'm taking a pink cream liner from Graftobian, and this is in Plum Wine, and I'm applying this to my lips and doing the lip smacking thingy to add a bit more color. But after these final steps, you are basically done. So that is it for this makeup video. Now, I really hope that you all enjoy this makeup tutorial, and if you do, please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel because that really helps me out. Also, if you want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, the links will be down below, as well as the list of products I used in this video. So I really hope to see you next time, and bye!